Okay everyone, let's get started. So this week we are going to do what we were going to do last week, which is the bike set. So that's this one. It's the watercolor bicycle set and it's number 5124. And that's this one. We're gonna use this one today. So if you have the bike set, grab that out if you want to stamp with me, or if you just want to relax and watch, snuggle up to your pet or your fan. By all means, just hang out and relax with us today. Jerry, it's a toss-up right now. Heat or menopause, both cause hot flashes. Oh my goodness. Seriously. And then if you have both, oh, you're an inspiration to me. Oh my goodness. Julie, it's not a new set. No, this one was released, I think, either end of 2019 or early 2020. So this is one of the, I would say, newer of the line, but it's not a new set. So this is on the website if you need to have it. Other sets I will show you when we flip the camera, but this is the project that we're going to be making. So it's really simple, and we're going to be using an analogous color theme, and then also it's cross complement. So you can probably see what color scheme we're going to use here, and you can do that by looking at your color wheel. And we're going to be using these analogous colors here, and then its cross complement is right here between these two blues. So I'll actually be using both of these blues and these colors here, and then also the 177 green. Okay, so there are a lot of colors in here. You could certainly pare it down to have less colors and just do like an orange and a blue, or a yellow, an orange, and a red if you want to. So you don't have to do the cross complement, but we're gonna do that today because a lot of you already made your color wheels. So we can absolutely use them now, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. I am going to flip the camera around and I will see you on the flip side. All right, so let me get my camera up just for a moment. And I have my iPad with me, so if you have questions, please go ahead and ask them in the comments, okay? So Julie, I have a video on how to make the color wheel. I did do it live, yes. So you can absolutely go back and watch. I think there's 3 of them that I did with color theory, and the very first one I did with color theory part 1 is how to make the color wheel. Okay, so you can go refer back to that video. It's a really fun one, and I show you how to make, how to put in your colors and kind of explain the importance of where the colors are on the wheel. Okay, and so let's go ahead. This is what we're going to be making, so you can see. On this color wheel, I have these colors right here. I used this green because it was right next to these and it's a warmer green. So for my green, I used that 177, but I used mostly this analogous theme right here. So 856, 925, 933, and 993. And it's so cute. And then for the blues, I used the cross complement of the 526 and the 565. So you can make this really simple if you want to, and you could just use like these 2 colors and its cross complement, which is the 526 if you want. You can do, Janet is on. Oh yes, girl, you better be driving safe. Janet is on her way home and she's listening with her headphones. So welcome, Janet. So happy you're here. Good to see you. Okay, Julie, cool. I have to rewatch them. Oh yeah, it's a really good little thing to have for your watercolors. It's nice to be able to go and just refer back to this and be like, okay, these are the colors I use most often, and I want to do a theme, you know, an analogous color theme or a complementary color theme. So definitely, if you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's a good one. All right, so we're gonna make this guy, and you can see I've got my 4 colors in here with the green, and then the cross complement are the 2 blues here. All right, hi Helen, good to see you. Okay, other sets I'm using. Norma, first time, welcome. So happy to see you. Okay, this is the Foliage Set 1, 4051. And I'm going to be using this little grass here. Now, if you do not have this next set, if you don't have Watercolor Foliage Set 4, 5126, I'm just going to use one of these 2 little vines. So if you don't have this one, it's okay. You can just use this vine. It's just a little bit bigger. You can see the difference in size here. I just liked the smaller one because the bike itself is smaller. So I went ahead and used this one, but if you don't have set 4, first of all, it's a really good one if you're looking for more foliage. But if you don't have this one, don't worry, just grab your bigger vine and just ink a smaller amount of it. That's totally fine. Hi, Roxy. Good to see you. It's so nice to hear your voice. Thank you. I miss you. Okay, and then also, I'm going to be using this little guy from the Watercolor Mini Flower Set. This is 5009, and that's this one now. Again, a lot of these flowers and foliages are interchangeable, so if you don't have this one, don't worry about it. Just grab one that you do have and follow along the best you can. You know, a lot of this is just to inspire you to try different projects. So if you don't have every single thing that I have, it's okay. Do not worry about it. Just grab your daisy bunch. Your daisy bunch for this project will be perfect. So I just thought I would sort of venture into some of the other flowers we have and use some of those, okay? And then for the other flowers, I'll be using this one. This is like a little, it's almost like a little rose. And then also this stem bud. Okay, and this is Watercolor Flower Set 4, number 5258. All right, so, and then here's the bike one, of course. I'm going to be using this one today, but certainly any of these would be great projects, and you can do them alone or together, however you want to do it, okay? Let's get started. I am using the Canson watercolor paper. I'm going to zoom in so you can get a really good look at what I'm doing. And I'm going to use the smooth side. I've been really into the smooth side lately. You don't have to. A lot of people are really into that toothy side. It has a lot more texture if you want something that, you know, has a little bit more of a break between lines and things like that. You can totally do that. I've been really into the smooth side lately. So I'm going to go ahead and go with that. I have my stamp, and this is Cling Cushion. For those of you who are new, just joining, this is Cling Cushion. These are repositionable cling stamps. Some of them are clear, some of them are rubber, and they adhere to your acrylic block the same. So you can take them on and put them off, or take them off, okay? So I'm going to put that at the right top corner of my block just so that I can position it really easy on my paper. Okay, so I'm going to take 2 colors, which I use often to get a gray, and this is going to be 969 and 565. Hi, Teresa, good to see you. And I'm going to be using the 969 first and then 565 over the top of that. And if you've watched before, you know that this is going to create a really nice gray tone for our bike. And this is a great base color that we can add other colors to. Okay, so I'm going to take 969 first, and I'm going to ink this bike. Just like so. Make sure you get the seat and the pedal here, all the bars. And then I'm going to add number 565 to this bike as well. Right over that brown, just right straight over it. Now this has a lot of ink on it, so I need to stamp it off at least one time. I need to stamp this off to get the vast majority of the product off because it will just be too much color. All right, so I'm going to go down onto my project paper and stamp that in just like that. Okay, now I'm going to take my brush, and this is a number 4 Connoisseur synthetic bristle brush, and it's a really great one because it goes right back to the original round shape. If you get a true hair or a real hairbrush, it's going to, when you go to paint, it's going to kind of bend over and not pop back. But because this is synthetic, it's going to pop right back, okay? Hi, Deanna. Good to see you. Are you doing self-care tonight, girl? Okay, so I'm just going to get this nice and wet. You can see I'm going to open up my bristles. I'm not poking this down. I'm laying it at the bottom and then opening up the bristles, okay? So I'm going to take the majority of that water off because now I have wetted my brush thoroughly and consistently all the way through the bristles, okay? So I'm just going to move my water now. And I'm going to take this brush now. I have wiped off the majority of the water, but I'm going to take this brush and just begin to pull out. Let's zoom in a little bit more. I'm going to begin to pull out some of the color from the lines that I've just stamped in. Now, I'm not going to trace this. I am going to use the color as a source and move it around. So I'm not tracing the lines at all. I'm just starting to put in the base of where my shadows will be or my darker color will be. Okay, I'm gonna come in here. Since the sun is shining down on my bike at the top, my shadow is gonna be under here. Under here. This is where my shadow is gonna be, underneath. My shadow will be in here, under here, and around on the side, down here, okay? Underneath this basket on these little bars. Okay. Laura, don't laugh, but this is exciting to a newbie, mixing 2 colors right on the stamp. Yes, isn't it neat? It's so fun, and you can see what a nice gray this gives us. It's a multi-dimensional gray so that it's not flat. We're already starting off with multi-dimensional color, which is really what we want because that's what real painting and real life color looks like. Okay, Natalie, the bikes are so fun. I love these. But this would, you know, this technique even on your pots, you would do the same thing. You would come in and pull out the color from the lines and then go back in with your color after. Okay, so even if you don't have this, you can substitute for something else. And certainly the colors that we're using would be beautiful in a pot as well. All right. Okay, so now that I have my base color in, I'm going to use my palette. So this is the Art Impressions Acrylic Palette. And I'm going to use number 528. Oops, I wanted 526. 526. I'm going to use 526, okay? And I'm going to go 526 and put that on my palette. Velda, hello, good to see you. I'm so happy you're here. And then I'm also going to take 565 and put that on my palette too. So 565 and 526 is going to go on my palette. And remember, those were the 2 colors that were right across from the colors that we're using. So here's the 4 colors we're using for the basket and the florals. These 2 colors were right directly across the color wheel. So those are going to be the complement of this analogous theme. Okay? That's why we're using them on the bike, to really make those flowers pop. All right. So now I'm going to take 526 and I'm just going to begin to add this color into my bike. And I don't have to color everything. I still want to leave highlights on my images, even the vessels. I still want to leave highlights. So because things are round, you know there's going to be a highlight somewhere on here. It doesn't have to be perfect, okay? It just has to be on there. There has to be a break in color so you can avoid making it look flat. Okay. Oops. I'm just going to plug in my phone real quick. My little charger came out. Okay, so now I am going to take that same 526 and I am going to add that to the handle here, right there. And some of these bars, it's really nice to have a guide with you because some of these bars you just don't see because you're looking at other areas. And so I have my original here that I'm sort of looking at to make sure I get all the bars in, the bike bars. All right, and then I'm gonna take this one and go over. And then anything that this blue, anywhere that the blue is underneath something, directly underneath something, I'm going to add a little bit more of this color because that's where a shadow is gonna be. So if it's right underneath something, I want to add a little bit more of this blue. Okay, same thing on the pedal, the little metal pedal here. I'm gonna come in with that blue and just put it in here. And then that 565, I'm gonna use that to darken up the areas that I want to shadow in. So I'm going to darken this up. See, we're just layering the color in. Once we've decided where our shadows are, we can just darken them up using color layering. And that light blue, it's wonderful to layer, but I wanted something just a little bit darker. And because this is also the complement of our theme, I can use that to darken up these areas that I want to. Okay. See how many white spaces are in here? Even though there are white spaces, we know that this bike is blue. We know that because the eye puts it together. So even though there's highlights all over the place, I can look at this bike and be like, okay, I know that it's blue. Yay, Teresa, no problem. She says, thank you, and so happy to see the instruction for the bicycle. No problem. All right, now I'm gonna take number 947, this one, and if you remember, we added this to our neutrals, 947 here, and I want to use this on the basket and the seat and the pedal. All right, so I'm going to do 947 because it's kind of that warmer brown that I think is going to look really nice with the yellow and the orange. Laura, good question. Any advice on how much water to have in the brush? So let me just show you before I add that color, okay? So if I have my water here and it's already wet from when we first started, right? So we let all the bubbles out. So I'm gonna dip it once. I'm not gonna go past this metal piece. I'm gonna dip it once, wipe it once on the side of the glass, and then I'm just gonna very lightly reshape it to take off the excess water. And that's really what I use. Now, my mom, she dips once, she'll wipe it, and then she'll just take the very tip off. and just really squeeze off the excess water here, and that's enough for her. So it really depends on how much water you like on your project, but I will say I use more water than her. But if I have more than this, if I wipe it off and kind of reshape that, if I have more water than that, I generally have too much water, okay? So you can either do that or you can squeeze off just the tip, and that's generally a really great place to start with playing with the amount of water that you need. Okay, so I'm going to take that 947 and I'm going to begin to just drop this into my basket. And I don't want to come up too far because, no, Laura, don't, absolutely. It's a really good question, and it's one that a lot of people will have. So I appreciate you asking. It is hard to know. All right, so I'm going to take that color and just come around. Now imagine this being one of your pots. Imagine this being a pot, and you know you need a highlight in here, right? So the edges of your basket are going to be the darker areas, and then in the center, you're gonna have a lighter area. So I'll take that 947, and I'm just going to deepen up the edges of that. Okay, and then I'm gonna put a little bit on the seat and a little on the petal. How cute is this? I love this little bike so much. I think it's just adorable. I want to go ride on it. I'm going to put a little bit on the wheels. And, you know, keeping a simple color theme is always a really good option. So although we have several colors, they are right next to each other or across from each other on the color wheel. They're not just arbitrary colors that we just grabbed. So although they have several colors in here, it's controlled, it's planned, okay? So we looked on here and we planned our colors out. And they have a rhyme and a reason. I didn't this and this or this and not know why, right? So you can use more, but it needs to be planned out. And if you're nervous about using the color wheel, just use 2 colors or 3 colors and just stick to that color scheme, okay? All right, so I'm gonna take that 947 one more time, and I'm just going to place just a touch more in here since this is now pretty much dry. And I'll come back in with my twin tone and darken it up a little bit more. But I just love the way that the brown plays with, or this, you know, warmer brown plays with that blue. Okay, and the reason for that too is this warmer brown, it has orange in it. And what is the complement to blue? We can look at our color wheel and we can see blue's complement, if you go here or here really, it's going to be orange. So the fact that our brown has some orange in it, that's why these play so well together, this brown and this blue, is because technically they're more complements. Okay. Janet, you made it home. Good job. I know, I finally learned my lesson. So Janet says she had a giggle when I said 526 because I often say 256 because I'm a little bit dyslexic. So I'm slowly but surely learning my lesson here. Okay, now I'm going to take my my florals here. And you can see how we added them in the basket. I'm gonna go from one side to the other. You can go this way to that way or this way to that way. It's up to you, but I'm gonna put my flowers in first so that when I put in my foliage, I already have the flowers mapped out. Okay, so I can put the foliage anywhere I want to as long as I have my flowers where I want them. All right, so I'm gonna start with number 925, which is this one. It's going to be our most orangey color, 925. And I'm going to grab this little cute rose, it's like a little triple rose from the Watercolor Flower Set 4, which is this one. It's going to be this one, Watercolor Flower Set 4, 5258, for those of you wondering. And I'm just going to push that right onto my acrylic block, and I'm going to ink this using the 925. And I'm going to stamp this in series, so I'm going to go stamp a bunch of these on here. 925. And we'll go just a few more here. It really doesn't matter how many you do because it's just kind of hanging over the basket. You want it to be full. All right, and then I will also do this little guy, and actually we'll do the 933 using the same one. So if you want to stamp off any excess that you have of the 925, you can before adding your 933. So the 933, this is going to be a really nice complement to the one you just put in, that 925. And it almost looks like a little highlight from the sun. If you put it right next to the 925, it's really beautiful that way. And then I'm going to take the other little mini flower from the watercolor mini set, this one, and I'm not going to ink the grass. So this grass down here, I'm just going to leave off, and I'm just going to use the dots on top with my 993. 993. So I'm going to ink that, just the top flowers, and then I will put these in like so. So I've got this really beautiful 993, and then I have the 933, and then I have the 925. So there's 3 of my analogous colors so far. And then I'm going to put in, before I add my water to this, because remember, when we add a lot of things to a small space, if you add your water before putting in your foliage, it's going to take up a whole lot more space because the water moves the color out. So your foliage may be all the way out here by the time you add your water. So if you put your foliage in first before you add your water to everything, you're going to have a much more compact image at the end. So I'll take number 177 and my little vine here, and I'm going to put it right in the corner so that I can easily use this as a guide. So I'm going to put that on there, and I'll just ink some of this. I don't need the whole thing. And I'm going to just add in some of these foliages wherever I want to. So it doesn't need to be many. Maybe I'll just do that, and that's it. So it's up to you how you want to do it. You know, the nice thing is that, you know, every basket is going to look a little bit different. You know, the flowers are going to be set in there in a unique way every time you load up this bike, right? If you were thinking about it is as if you were actually loading up this bike with flowers, it's going to look different every time you do it. Think about that when you're doing your stamps. So don't worry about it being perfect. And then I'm going to add my water and just move along, dabbing. And I've just dabbed all those out. See how that really beautiful 933 just makes that 925 look highlighted up at the top. Isn't that beautiful? And then I'll just dab my greens a little bit here. Okay. Now let's put in our red. So we have the 856, which is also part of our color scheme. And I'm going to use 856 on the buds. Thank you, Heather. Isn't this fun? I love the bike. I think it's so cute. And then I'm also going to use number 177 for the stem. I know, it comes alive with water. I know, I love that too. I love it, and I love it with the 725. When you stamp that bright, bright, hot pink and then you add water to it, it's just unreal. Okay, so I'm adding 856 to the buds here, and I'm just going to put these in wherever I want. Okay, so I'm just gonna have them kind of stick out of the bike here, and we'll go ahead and add our water. Just like this, and when you add your water, it does really pop as well. And if you want to, you can always add more color. So if you're like, wow, that bud, I really want it to pop, you can always take this color, this 856, onto your palette, and you can add that color right into your buds if you want it to be more prominent. And if you want it to be really soft, you can just leave it. But that's the nice thing, is it's just, you know, you can add whatever you want to. You can also take the small tip of this and add straight onto your paper if you really, really want it to pop. I do too, Tina. The bud flowers are so sweet. They are just so cute, and I love how it just adds a little bit extra to whatever floral you're doing. All right, so now we're going to come in with our grass, teeny tiny grass. And I'm gonna grab this. Sheila, that's so beautiful. Too bad it's too hot to write it. I know. Someday we'll be able to go back outside. Okay, I'm gonna take 177, and I'm gonna take my teeny tiny grass. This is from Foliage Set 1. So this is one of your basic sets. So if you're just starting and you don't know what to get, Foliage Set 1 is an absolute must-have, okay? So that's what has the teeny tiny grass, and we use this a lot. Teeny tiny grass. So I'm gonna take that and just stamp in my grass. Now you don't have to even stamp the whole thing. You know, a lot of you are like, you go so fast, or, you know, how do you make the stamp look different every time you stamp it? You know, it's really because I generally don't take the time to ink the entire stamp. So I'll come in here and just quickly get the ink on, and then go through and just stamp a little bit more, and then I can go back and ink again. So it's going to make it just look a little bit different every time you stamp. And it's true, the less concerned you are with being perfect, the more likely it's going to look like a watercolor painting. Because, you know, a lot of times we want to go for the suggestion of something, not the, you know, realism that you see in a lot of other mediums. Okay, I'll just take a little bit of that 565, and we'll put just a tiny little shadow under this bike. And you might have a little bit over here too because of the flowers. All right. Now I am so big on contrast that I'm gonna come back in with my twin tones and these two guys, so my twin tone blue and my twin tone brown, and I'm going to add in more contrast with these. Instead of trying to go back into such a small space with my brush, I'm gonna take these and just add more contrast. So I'll take the really tiny tip, this tiny little tip, and I'm gonna go along and just add in a little bit more contrast where I feel like my shadows, I want to be a little bit darker. So you can see the difference even in the front to the back. Do you see that difference? Because I brought in that twin tone, you can really see that it's it's quite a bit more contrasted. So I'll take this and we'll put a little line under here where the shadow would be. And another one here. And that one's gonna be brown, so we'll leave that. Thank you, Sue. Sue says, Kendra, this is adorable with 3 exclamations. Thank you. It's so fun. You would really love it. That twin tone really does make a difference. I know. I'm always so impressed with this because it really does add so much contrast to what you're doing when you can put this in. This is like a must-have. I love this thing. And I would get it, if you're going to get it, I would get it in the blue and the brown. There's a green too, which is kind of fun. It's kind of a minty green, this one. And maybe I should use it in a video. It's super fun too. If you want a little bit different of a look for your grass, or other, you know, if you wanted to add another dimension, a patina or something like that to one of your pots, this is really, really cute. And I'll do a video on that too, because we've got that one on the website. Heather, you have the whole pack of twin tone. Oh my goodness, nice, nice. That's a good one. Okay, so now I'm gonna take the brown and I'm gonna take that teeny tip again and I'm gonna go along the bottom of the seat. So this one I'm gonna do along the brown areas where I use that 947. So darkening some of these areas, and we'll bring that in. And this guy comes along here because that's going to be dark. And then down in here on the petal. Okay, do a little bit there. All right, so now we have our dimensions in there. Doesn't that make a huge difference? This is just a huge difference on being able to see the contrast between the highlights that you've put in and your shadows, okay? Now I am going to take my ruler and I'm gonna put in the spokes. And actually, before we do that, let's put in a little bit of a sky, because I know you guys and you all feel like it's not done until there's a sky. And you know what? I'm the same. I need a sky in almost everything. So even if it's just small, we'll put it in. So I'm gonna use 526. Tina, Kendra, will you be doing a throwback set this coming week? Yes, I will. 10 a.m. I think it's the 6th of July is the first Tuesday of the month. So yes, there will be another AI throwback, and it's very, very cute. So you will love it. Okay, so 526, and I'm just going to put a little bit of this blue, and you can see it's the same color as the bike. So it's gonna work really nicely with that. I'll put a little bit inside here before we put the spokes in. So you wanna do the spokes at the very end. Now notice I just touched that little line. Just make sure you know where your lines are. It's not a big deal because the spokes are gonna be in there, so it's not gonna make a huge deal. But just so you're aware, sometimes you can get going and forget that there's a line here, just like I did. And you know, it's not a big deal, but just something to kind of be aware of. Okay, down here and maybe a little bit in here. And then I will put in some sky back in here. Okay. We'll let that dry for just a moment, and you know what? It's so hot that it's probably already dry right now. So we're gonna go ahead and check that. Yep. I'm gonna take my little ruler, so you can grab any ruler or any straight edge you have. I would suggest being able to see through it. If you have something clear, that would be really great, just so you can see where you're going. Now, the spokes, I'm just going to be using a pencil. So because they're so light, a pencil works great for this. If you use a micron tip, typically it will look too dark because spokes are just so dainty and small. So I'm just going to use this ruler to put them in, okay? Now I'm just going to take that pencil and make a line and then go straight across the other way. So there's my first spoke. And I'm going to do the same thing here. Now these do not have to be spaced equally. It's really okay if they're not perfect. You do not have to worry about that. It's just the idea of something, remember? So although spokes are perfect on your bike, like I just messed this one up, oh well. I'm gonna keep going because it's okay. They are perfect on your bike at home. They don't have to be perfect on this bike. Maybe my bike crashed into a mailbox and one of the spokes got messed up. You can come up with a story for anything. Okay, and I'm gonna go straight across, and remember these are very light lines, super light lines. You're not doing anything really dark because the spokes are meant to be really light. I'm gonna go in here and across, and then it looks like I need one more between these. Just like that. So there's my front wheel spokes. And you can't even tell that they're pencil, honestly. You're not even gonna notice, but the pencil is the best thing to use for this. And you always wanna put them in at the very end when you're done coloring. All right, now I'm gonna do this side. So I'll come in here and put in my first spoke. And of course, skipping all of the, details like the pedal and things like that, that is already in here, that you wouldn't see a spoke come through the pedal, right? And then we'll do this. And we'll do this little guy. Okay. So there are my spokes, and then we always sign our work, right? So I'm going to take my twin tone, the little tip, and I'm going to sign and date my work. You can always put your little dots in here if you want to. These are really cute. I'm a big fan of the dots. And you can just kind of put them around just like that. Oops, and I was kind of off screen. Sorry about that. Okay, I'll zoom out. And there we have it, our little bike. Isn't it cute? And we stayed within our color wheel that we've planned out because we wanted to use lots of colors. So you can do that. It's always a really great, easy thing to use, your color wheel. If you haven't done or made a color wheel before, go check out that first video. It's a really good one to learn a little bit about color theory. It's a 3-part series that you can check out. So I'm gonna flip back around and I will say my goodbyes. Okay, if I can get my camera flipped. Okay. Hello. Okay, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this little tutorial today. This is the bike set. 5124 is the SKU, and then it is going to look like this, and you get 4 little bikes in there, and they each have a basket. These ones are really cute because they have a back basket, so they have the seat and everything, but you could put flowers back here too, which is super cute. And yeah, so next week I am going to be taking you through some structures, okay? So I know we did a structure for the first Back to Basics, but this is like, I think Back to Basics number like 18 or something. So I thought we would revisit structures, and this is a really cute set. So this is Watercolor Mini Cottages set number 4961, and these are just so cute. With the structures, a lot of times I like to focus on shading and shadowing and how to get that really nice contrast in your structures, and those are techniques and lessons that we can use throughout watercolor and just working with different structures, okay? So when you're out and about this week, I want you to be noticing shadows on different buildings. I know a lot of you have said, wow, I've really noticed a lot of colors in the trees and that there's highlights on things, and I'm really understanding how highlights are working now, and how why we use multi-dimensional colors and how we want things to pop off the page. So definitely, here's your homework. Start looking at different buildings, how the shadows respond to different buildings. At 12 o'clock, go outside and look at your house or your apartment building and see how the sun comes down on top of your house, and see where the shadows are on your house, okay? You will notice that they're underneath the eaves and underneath the door frames and things like that, because the sun is coming straight down. So I want you to really be looking at those things this week, okay? If you haven't had enough watercolor, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Watercolor Wednesday with the Queen, Bonnie Krebs. She will be releasing a brand new watercolor set or sets, and you will not want to miss it. They are beautiful. I've seen them. Of course, I've seen the sets, but I've seen the projects that she's going to do as well. So check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Of course, we always upload these videos onto YouTube. The quality is much better there. So if you can wait a couple days to rewatch it, or even a day to rewatch it, we get that up as soon as we can. It's so great on YouTube. It's like 4D or HD or 4K or whatever the highest quality of video is on there. But of course, we'll also send it straight to the timeline right here on Facebook. So I love you all. Thank you for joining me today. As always, take care of yourselves. Big hugs to you, and I'll see you next week. Bye.